Hello, hello, and welcome to the listening room. This is a space where real conversation meets real solutions. I am your host, April DiPietro, the Community Resource Director at the Camden County Care Management Organization. And today we are joined by Lorrie with Camden County's Children's Mobile Response. Lorrie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Lorrie, and I am the community liaison at Children's Mobile Response.
How long have you been with Camden's Mobile?
I will be there 9 years in November.
Wow, congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I didn't realize it's been that long.
Me neither.
Awesome. Time flies. Time flies.
Yes, it does.
All right. So, as you know, our listeners know at this point, it's been a few episodes. Our main goal is to communicate resources and services, make sure that our community better understands New Jersey's children's system of care. We earlier had an episode with the Family Support Organization, which is awesome, but Children's Mobile is the third piece to that puzzle, right? So every county has a care management organization, a family support organization, and a children's mobile response. So why don't you explain to our listeners, what is mobile response?
Well, Children's Mobile Response is an 8-week stabilization program. It is designed to hopefully stabilize the crisis as to what's going on. And that crisis can look different for everyone. It could be anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, with or without a plan. It could be self-harming. It could be school refusal. It could be grief. You name it, we do it.
Okay. So what we want to make sure our listeners understand is that if their child is having a crisis, right? And I do air quotes because of what you just said, right? A crisis could look different for everyone.
Yes.
If there is a concern for safety, whether it's of the individual themselves or maybe they're, so angry that they're hurting other people, when the family calls PerformCare, how are they supposed to know if PerformCare is the right call or if they should call 911 or if they feel safe, take their child to the nearest crisis hospital in their county?
I always err on the side of caution. If you feel as though your child is in an immediate crisis, immediate situation where 911 needs to be called, call 911.
Right.
That is your
than sorry.
first
Line of defense.
Yes.
Okay.
If you feel as though you're unsure or if you feel as though the situation is stable enough, then you can then take your child to crisis screening in Cherry Hill.
Okay.
It's completely your call.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever you think is the best solution in that moment.
Okay.
No one knows their child better than their parent or their legal guardian.
Right.
I always say that.
Okay. So understood. So let's say I'm the parent, right? And my child is not doing well and I can tell that something is wrong. I don't think it's 911 immediate, like we need to go to the hospital, but clearly something isn't right. So I would call PerformCare.
Yes.
And it's PerformCare that gives the permission for that county's Children's Mobile to be dispatched or not. So for example, our Children's Mobile Response is through Oaks Integrated Care, right?
Yes.
A family can't just Google and get the phone number and call. They can, somebody will answer, but you can't be dispatched directly. It has to come from PerformCare,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you do get linked, let's say a parent calls, they go through the questions, and PerformCare feels that that is the most clinically appropriate thing to do, and they dispatch Camden County's Children's Mobile Response.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to our listeners what that looks like? What time of the day? Can they go to school? Can it be at the home?
They can go anywhere. When you call PerformCare and you are then referred to Children's Mobile Response, we answer the phone immediately. We respond within an hour. It does not matter where you are located in Camden County. We can go to the school. We can go to a park. We can go anywhere. We've gone to libraries. We've gone to a cemetery. It really is wherever we meet you where you are.
Okay.
That is what we're designed for.
But it's the same phone number that a family would call to access CMO services
Yes.
if it is a crisis, not escalated to the point of 911 or going to the local screening center at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But they would still call that same phone number, the 1-877,
Yep.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. Somebody answers.
Yes.
If the answers to the questions lead the state to feel that mobile is the most appropriate first step, you guys will get dispatched.
Absolutely.
And you will go wherever the family is.
Wherever.
How long does it take for you guys to go out?
We have up to an hour from the moment we receive that triage.
Mm-hmm.
After the initial phone call, after all the safety questions are asked, we have an hour to respond.
Okay.
Now, we can also make appointments.
Okay.
This is actually newer.
Okay.
So if, say, your child or your youth is at school and you're like, no, I'm not ready just yet, but I wanted to call, we can schedule an appointment and then we'll call you back
Right.
an hour beforehand.
Or what if I wait till my kid goes to bed, right? Like I know a lot of parents, myself included, our days are so busy. But if I know I feel like something's not quite right,
Yeah.
I'm going to handle my day. Maybe it's like 11 o'clock at night. PerformCare is open 24 hours a day. So my kid's asleep. I know that they're safe. I can call. Mobile would get dispatched. I would get a phone call from mobile. Is that what happens? Okay. And then you're saying, as the parent, I have an option to be like, we're not going to wake my kid up right now. But hey, can you come tomorrow after school? My kiddo gets off the bus at whatever time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then we will then call to ensure that you're still ready for that dispatch.
Okay.
Make sure the child is home because the child always has to be present with the parent or the legal guardian. Always.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're not able to complete the assessment.
Okay. And then what does that look like? So you said assessment. For our listeners that might not understand, what does that entail?
So when we initially come to wherever we meet the family, what we'll do is we'll ask a series of questions.
Okay.
We try to get a better understanding as to what's going on.
Right.
Why did you call? And then see where we go from there.
Okay.
We can put in a therapist, an in-home therapist for 8 weeks. We can put in a behavioral assistant if we feel it necessary. We can refer to CMO.
Okay.
We can refer to a partial care program.
Okay.
So we can refer to outpatient.
Okay.
We can just open up for the 8 weeks and just call you weekly just to make sure everything's going okay.
Because sometimes it is a one-off, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, you're just like, I don't know if they need services or not. Okay, well, let's just open up. Let's just monitor.
Monitor for a few weeks.
Make sure everything's going okay.
Okay. Now, what if one of your case managers, right, from mobile is working with a family and they're like, yeah, I think this is a deeper rooted challenge that this family is navigating.
Mm-hmm.
How can you explain to our listeners how that process works if the mobile worker feels that CMO would be the best route to go and not just directly to outpatient, right? So do you guys do like a report? Does PerformCare kind of review that at the state level?
No. So if we go out and we complete the assessment and after we collect all the information, if I'm like, I think this child or youth needs to go to CMO immediately, I will then do the CMO referral.
Okay.
And then I will stay open until they link with CMO and CMO has made contact. And then I will close out on my end and then the family will continue with CMO.
Understood. Okay. So there is a space where there's a little bit of an overlap. Do you ever get an opportunity to talk with the care managers from the Camden CMO?
When I was a dispatcher, and I was a dispatcher for 5 years before I transitioned into this role, yes, I would.
Okay.
Absolutely. I always made sure that there was a connection. I always would try and connect with the case manager, the care manager,
Okay.
To make sure that they had all the information before I passed it along.
Okay.
Because I always just like to make sure nothing's left open-ended.
Yes.
I like to just make sure there's no overlap. And if I think that there's going to be a gap of service between when I make a referral and CMO picks up, I'll still put in an in-home therapist.
Okay.
Just to cover that, especially if I feel like it's very warranted.
Absolutely. Okay.
So, yeah.
Understood. Okay. So the 8-week stabilization, that is kind of what children's mobile response, no matter what county the family lives in, that is your sweet spot, right?
Yes.
You work with the family for 8 weeks. I'm assuming before that 8th week hits, there is a conversation and a decision of whether or not are we going to, link with CMO or is the youth and family stable and safe for outpatient services?
Yes.
Okay. So it is a planned process.
Honestly, at week 3, we were talking about transitioning,
Okay.
what that looks like. Because obviously, we would love to stay open longer and work with families longer, but unfortunately, we are to work with a family for 8 weeks.
Right. Okay.
However, when we are having those conversations, what we can do is I will help a family link to outpatient. If they are successfully linked to outpatient, whether there's a wait list or not,
Okay.
we can then put in a 4-week extension.
Oh.
So then they can have a total of 12 weeks.
Okay.
But they have to be linked with outpatient.
Outpatient. Understood.
So generally what I would do is I would email or I would mail the outpatient list to the family, ask them to look through
Okay.
and see if there's any that they want to put on a list, like depending on transportation
Right.
and what that situation looks like. Or honestly, I would
they
just
want
have
to
them
virtual.
go online.
Yeah.
And just look up on their insurance card.
Yeah.
No matter
Or
what
the
insurance they
ResourceNet.
have.
Yeah, they can
Or the
even look on the
ResourceNet.
ResourceNet.
I actually just used the ResourceNet the other day to help a family look up grief counseling.
Yay.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We talk about the ResourceNet on every episode because it is a fantastic tool.
It's fantastic.
Translatable in multiple different languages. You can get it on your smartphone. So definitely check out the ResourceNet. And each one of our guests on this podcast, their agency that they represent is on the ResourceNet. So that's just another way to get connected.
It's a wonderful resource.
It sure is. Okay, so 8-week stabilization. We want to also make sure that families really understand the difference between, because it's in your name, right? Children's mobile response, crisis intervention services, right? So let's just make sure that we are closing that loop and there are no questions when it comes to crisis. So if it is an active crisis, the child is actively harming themselves or someone else, it's most likely best to call 911, or if you feel safe, take them to the nearest crisis center. Once they go through that process, they're, seen by a doctor, they're cleared, the screening is done. It is our hope that the family will be given the PerformCare phone number. So it's not just a one and done. Sometimes we hear that schools might have to ask a family to take a kiddo to the crisis center because they need a clearance letter. Something was said that was important, and they need to keep everybody safe, right? So, but what we don't want to see is a family going to the crisis center at the hospital, getting that clearance letter, the school gets what they need, and then what happens with Johnny or whoever the kiddo is. So it's our hope that they call PerformCare.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where your workers were dispatched by PerformCare and then maybe in the interim of you getting out to the home, the crisis situation got to that level where now it needs to go to the hospital? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Honestly, that has actually never happened.
Okay.
In the 9 years that I've been with Children's Mobile Response, I have never had that situation.
Okay.
And I am very glad that I never have.
Okay.
But no.
But if that were to happen, let's say you go out, you're dispatched, and you can't de-escalate because it's just you're talking the child and the family through it, right? There's no hands-on, there's no physical restraints, right? What do you do then? Do you then tell the family to call 911 or you'll wait with them till they go to the hospital?
I will wait. That's just me personally. I always wait. I've actually never had a situation where I've had to also call 911. I've always waited. It's always been a situation where I have been able to verbally stabilize the situation, and the parent or guardian was able to take the child to crisis.
Awesome.
So I'm very glad for that.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
But just so our listeners know, if mobile does get dispatched from PerformCare, it is an escalated situation. If it is in the child's best interest, the family will go to crisis at the hospital, get their screening, and then you guys are still there to work with them afterwards, right? So there's no like, oh, it's right now or never.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about the other stuff that you do in your role, right? Now that our listeners have a better understanding about what Children's Mobile Response is, how does the mobile and CMO and FSO collaborate in the community? Like, what do we do?
So for the first 5 years, I was a dispatcher. I completed in-home assessments. And then about 2 years ago, I transitioned into the community liaison role. And that is where I met you. We started doing in-school presentations. I actually do DIFIS, DCPMP presentations as well. So that's really what I do. I try and get our name out there as much as possible and really trying to give a true understanding of our program and what services we offer. So any chance I get, I talk about Children's Mobile Response.
I.e., you're here right now for the podcast, right? So,
yes.
That's awesome. And it's been a pleasure working with you in the community and doing those presentations. And I know that, there are times where I can't go or you can go or,
Mhm.
somebody from the FSO might go. And what I really enjoy about our collaboration is we know enough about each other's process that if one of us isn't there, we're still talking about the other.
Yep.
Because it's the three of
Always.
us. It's
Yes.
CMO, Mobile Response, and the Family Support Organization.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So we talked about the resource net. We talked about how families can get connected with mobile response. We talked about the 8-week stabilization, how you guys can put in therapeutic services to help stabilize. We talked about the hospital, that process with a family. Is there any other aspect of children's mobile response that you feel is important and we want to use this space to communicate that with our community?
Um, I think I always want to specify the difference, obviously, between crisis
Mhm.
and children's mobile response, but also like we're here. We are 24/7. We do not close. You can call anytime. You call through PerformCare.
Mhm.
We come to your home.
Right.
And we complete the assessment and we put in services. We are, like I said, 24/7. We're here.
And is there a cost?
No, it's
No.
free. Everything is state funded. It's all through Medicaid.
Okay.
It is free of charge.
So just like the CMO, at no cost to a family. So it doesn't matter if a family has a lot of money or
Nope.
really great private
It
insurance.
does not matter.
It doesn't matter because
Everyone qualifies.
mental health doesn't discriminate and neither does the state of New Jersey.
No.
Okay. So call PerformCare. Can't just call whoever in that county is managing the mobile response. So Oaks Integrated Care, we're going to have an episode later on with Michelle,
Okay.
who's going to talk about Oaks as a conglomerate,
Yeah.
all the services that they
Lots
offer.
of programs.
Yeah, lots of programs, which is great. But Oaks also holds the contract in Camden County for children's mobile response. Excellent. I have another question for you. So you had said earlier that sometimes about the third visit with a family or the third week, you'll go and start talking about that transition process, what that looks like.
Mhm.
And you had mentioned outpatient therapy or community-based resources.
Yes.
Have you guys ever linked with Blue Light or any other outpatient, like community-based resource during that 8 weeks? Or is it more focused on the mental health piece for stability? And that's something more the CMO does.
So it's more focused on the mental health stability, but we are open to doing that.
Okay.
That's part of my position is getting those resources and honestly, like broaden horizons.
Yeah. Think outside the box.
Exactly.
Right.
So that is a really great resource as well.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Any final things that you want to share with our listeners?
Please call PerformCare. Please call PerformCare if you
PerformCare.
need children's mobile response. We are here. We are 24/7, and we are here to help.
And that's not just Camden County.
No.
That is any county across our great state.
Yes.
If a family has a kiddo 0 to 21 living with behavioral, mental health, developmental disabilities, and or substance use challenges at no cost to the family, they can call PerformCare.
Yes.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for taking the
you.
time out of your super busy day. I know how busy we are. We're one of the largest in the state. I think we're working with almost like 1,900 families right now. It is a pleasure to collaborate with you and to inform our community of these great resources. So I appreciate that. And until next time, you are in the listening room. Thank you.